Do you ever have issues with thinking or speaking in English? You try to organize your thoughts, but it just doesn't come out right? Well, you're not alone, and actually you're pretty lucky because that's exactly what we're talking about today. If you're new here, I'm teacher Kayla, and I'm so glad that you could join me for today's class where we will be learning to think in English and use that to help us speak more fluently. All right, are you ready? Grab a seat or grab a treat and let's get into it. So just like when learning anything, when you are learning to think in English or speak in English, especially fluently, you need to have a plan. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to start with a plan. Our plan consists of 3 main steps. Our first step is to give ourselves some time to think about the important questions we need to ask in order to come up with a good sentence or answer to a question in English. And yes, I will be going over those questions that we need to think about in just a minute. Number 2, it's important to not only think of the questions, but to try to get answers to those questions. So think of good answers to the questions that we are going to ask. It is also very important that you write down your answers in order for you to get your thoughts organized. This is a really important step when you are first starting to learn the language because it will take you some time to develop these skills and start to think in English on your own and more naturally. Okay, and our last step is super easy. It's just to practice, practice, practice. Okay, let's start with our first activity. We are going to be looking at a picture and using 5 questions to help us to describe what we are seeing in that picture. Okay, so here is our first picture. Think about what you are seeing. If I were to ask you what you see, you might say you see a family at the beach. Let's try to elaborate or expand on that. What I mean by elaborate or expand on that is to give more information. We can do that by looking at 5 questions. Who, what, when, where, and why. All right, so let's try that with this picture. Look at the picture and think about who we are talking about. Who? Well, looks like a family, right? Okay, so what are they doing? You could say they are walking or they are enjoying their time together. Okay, now when? Well, we don't have a lot of details for this, but we can see that it's sunny outside, right? So it's daytime. Okay, where are they? They are at the beach. Why? They are on vacation. All right, so let's try to improve our first sentence. Instead of saying, I see a family at the beach, you can say, the family is enjoying their time together at the beach while they are on vacation. See how that sounds so much better and more elevated, more fluent? By asking yourself these questions, you can more easily organize your thoughts. You won't always have to write things down, but it helps you at first to get more organized so you can pursue fluency or really improve your language skills. If you really want to push your fluency and become more fluent, you can also think of keywords that could be helpful to describing the people or things that you see in the picture. If we look at this picture, you might say that the daughter is carefree. To be carefree means that you are free from anxiety or responsibilities. For example, many people are carefree in the summer. Another keyword you might use is proud. Look at the father in this picture. He looks so proud of his family. Proud just means happy or pleased with your accomplishments. He is happy with the family that he has created. Great job. Now you are becoming more fluent. All right, let's try another one. Okay, so here is picture number 2. What do you see in this picture? You might say, well, I see a family enjoying a nice dinner. Oh, okay. We can do better than that, right? In this picture, you might see the whole family and talk about the whole family. Or you might focus in on the woman with her child. So either way you want to approach this. But for this activity, let's focus on the woman with her child. So that answers who? A woman and her child. Next is what? And remember, we're talking about the woman and the child. What are they doing? They are looking at the sky, right? Maybe they are looking at stars in the sky, or maybe they see something else in the sky, right? But they are looking at the sky. When is this happening? Well, this one looks a little different than last time. The lights are on and it looks a little darker outside, right? So I think it is nighttime. Where are they? Well, maybe they are at her parents' home. So you can say the child's grandparents' house or her parents' house. Why? Well, there can be many reasons why. And you can take a guess. You can state the obvious and say they are having dinner. You could use your imagination and say they are celebrating the child's birthday. Let's be creative and let's say they are celebrating the child's birthday. Now we're thinking in English, right? So instead of saying it's a family having dinner together, we can upgrade this sentence to focus on the mom and the son and say, it's a mother and her son looking at the stars in the sky while having dinner and celebrating her son's birthday at her parents' house. See how that sounds so much better than just saying it's a family having dinner. That's it, right? This is what will take your language skills to the next level. Again, now you're thinking in English. Okay, let's try another one. All right, let's move on to number 3. What do you see in this picture? I see a man wearing a backpack. Well, we can do better than that. You may already be thinking in English and thinking of better sentences than that at this point. But let's try this again together. Who is he? Well, by looking at him, you see he's wearing a backpack You're using context clues. You see around him, oh, okay, who wears a backpack? A student, right? Okay, so now he's not just a man, but he's also a student. All right, so that answers who. What is he doing? Well, maybe he's going to class. Okay, now we're getting more details. When is it? Well, it's during the day, but maybe we could be more specific and say it's in the morning. Okay, where is he? He is at his university because that's where we have classes, right? Maybe he goes to Harvard University. Okay, more and more details are coming, right? All right, why? Well, why does anyone go to college or go to a university? They go because they want to learn something, right? Maybe he wants to be a doctor. Okay, now we have a lot of information to talk about this picture, to describe the picture in a lot more detail, right? So now it is not a man wearing a backpack, but now our sentence is a student is going to class in the morning at Harvard University because he wants to be a doctor. Wow, that's a lot to get from just one picture, right? This is how you start to think in English and use what you are learning and thinking about to try to answer questions and describe things. You may have to use your imagination for practice, but when you start practicing like this, you can use what you have learned to use it in real life and to describe real people you know and real situations. All right, great job. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so we just have a couple more. Let's try one with something a little different. All right, let's look at this picture. And yes, I definitely chose this because this is absolutely the cutest kitten I've ever seen in my life. But I also thought it would be fun to try this activity with an animal or something a little different than a person, right? So let's try it and see if we can do this. Okay, so first look at the picture. What do we see? It's a kitten outside, okay? Let's try to do better. All right, so who do we see here? Well, it's a cute kitten, right? Or the cutest kitten in the world, if you ask me. But what is the kitten doing? It's exploring, right? It's looking around. It looks like it's on maybe an adventure. So it's exploring, okay? When? Well, that's kind of hard to say. Again, it's during the day. Maybe this time we say it's in the evening because it's looking a little dark, not very dark, but maybe not as bright as morning time. Why? I think for this question, for what we see, this might be a good time to think about some keywords because we only see one subject in front of us and it looks like we don't see a lot of other details here. So this would be a really good time to try to think and use our imagination or just come up with some keywords to try and describe what we think we are seeing. So let's think of some keywords that describe this kitten. One word that comes to my mind right away is curious. This kitten is curious because he wants to learn and he wants to know more about things. I think that the kitten is curious because he looks like he's looking and taking it all in, right? I also see a kitten who is confident. This kitten is very small and is outside on his own. I think that takes some confidence. And when I say confidence, I mean you are sure of yourself, right? So this kitten is very confident for such a small cat, right? Because he is on his own in the forest. Another word that I think of is adventurous. The cat is very adventurous because he is seeking adventure, or he likes to explore. Okay, let's take the information that we have and try to make a sentence. So we could take some of the words from the bottom that we just came up with, some of those keywords, and use them to describe the kitten at the top, or we can still use them at the end of our sentence. So for example, we could say a curious kitten or an adventurous kitten, right? But we will leave it at the bottom for now. That's just an option. All right, so instead of saying it's a cat outside, we can now say a cute kitten is exploring the forest in the evening because he is very curious to see what he will find. Yeah, and that's a strong sentence. That is much stronger than it's a cat outside. Much stronger, right? And all you had to do was organize your thoughts. Okay, let's try just one more. Okay, so let's take a look at our last picture. What do you see? Okay, maybe I see a group of people at work, or I see a group of workers, right? We can do better. So again, let's look a little closer. Let's think about it. Who do we see? Well, we see what looks like coworkers, or maybe a team, because they're working together, right? So maybe it's a team of coworkers, okay? What are they doing? Well, looks like they're working, and they're working together. So they're probably working together on a project, right? Okay. When? Let's say that it's after work. Where? Let's use our imagination. It looks like someone's house. Let's say that the man on the computer's name is Paul. Let's say that they are at Paul's house. Okay. Why are they there? Oh, so they can finish the project on time, okay? Or a million other reasons. But this helps us to give a much more detailed version of what we see, right? Let's put it together. A team of coworkers are working together on a project at Paul's house after work so they can finish on time. So that is much more detailed than our original sentence. I think you have the hang of this now. So I am going to leave you one more picture for your practice. I want you to answer these questions down in the comments, and I want you to tell me what you see in this picture and try to use what you have learned today to make your sentence, or to just answer the questions. Answer the 5 important questions that you need to answer to think and speak fluently in English. Okay, if you liked this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and leave me some comments down below. See you next time.